Different champions have held the belt for different reasons over the years, but it's never meant more than it does today in the era of JCW Lunacy.
Ladies and gentlemen, Juggalos and Juggalettes of all ages, step right up and welcome to the Pinfalls Pixels YouTube channel. Today we're discussing the history of the JCW Heavyweight Championship. And what does that title mean to yours truly, the purveyor of peculiar Barnabas the Bizarre? The championship means everything. It means power. It means prestige. It means legacy. But most of all, to an old carny like me, it means the do-re-mi. It means money, 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 baby. Because he who possesses the championship makes all the green, if you know what I mean.
In the chaotic, unpredictable, and blood and Fago-soaked universe of Juggalo Championship Wrestling, there exists a single prize that stands above everything else: the JCW World Heavyweight Championship. This isn't a title for the faint of heart. To hold it means you've been through wars that most wrestlers wouldn't even survive. It means you've walked into rings where the rules don't matter, where the crowd can be as wild as the match, and still walked out as champion. It's a championship forged in the underground, tested in the fire of death matches, defended in front of the most loyal and most unforgiving fan base in wrestling. Tonight, we're not going to just list the title changes. We're going to step inside the history. Because to understand this belt, you have to understand the culture that made it. December 19th, 1999, the taping of JCW Volume 1. Back then, JCW wasn't a touring brand. It wasn't streaming live on the internet. It was raw, it was underground, and it was built for a fan base that didn't want the sanitized product they saw on TV. The 20-man battle royal that night wasn't just a match, it was a statement. Fists flew, and bodies hit the floor in a way that made you question if this was still wrestling or something more primal. These were not pampered athletes in custom gear. These were fighters in jeans and band t-shirts, there to make a name and maybe even make history. When the dust settled, it was Evil Dead, a man shrouded in mystery who stood tall. And when that red strap championship was handed to him, the crowd didn't see a belt. They saw a blood pact. The red strap, in all of its beauty and glory, sort of symbolized the blood you would have to spill to hold the championship. This wasn't going to be a championship defended in safe arenas. This was going to be tested in parking lots, fields, and rings surrounded by juggalos who demanded nothing but carnage. The early years of the JCW Heavyweight Championship were about survival and spreading the name. Sabu, a man who defined chaos, brought his unpredictable, chair-wielding style to the title scene. He didn't just defend the championship, he weaponized it. Vampiro brought something different, a dark charisma and an aura that blurred the line between reality and performance. He made the championship feel mysterious, dangerous, and even cursed. And then there was Nosawa, who carried the JCW Championship into Japan, defending it against wrestlers who had never even heard of JCW but would never forget it afterward. During the Monday Night Wars, the championship crossed into a whole different world, appearing all over WCW Nitro and TV. It was unheard of for an independent championship to appear on such a stage. On August 21st, 2000, on an episode of WCW Monday Nitro, Vampiro, the JCW champion, flanked by members of the Dark Carnival, the Insane Clown Posse, Vampiro defended the JCW championship against Tank Abbott. The match would end in a no contest, but Vampiro would put the JCW championship on the map. He even laid out his thoughts about the JCW championship.
This is the only title that means anything to me. The Juggalo Championship Heavyweight Champion belt.
In 2005, wrestling legend Terry Funk 61 years old and still brawling like a man half his age, won the title at JCW vs TNA head-to-head. Watching Funk hoist the championship high wasn't just a victory for him, it was a victory for every old school fan who wanted to see a real fighter get the respect he deserved. Trent Acid brought a youthful swagger to the championship. Jeff Hardy, already a worldwide superstar, stepped into a JCW ring to fight for it, proving that even for the biggest names, this belt was worth the risk. And slowly, match by match, promotion by promotion, the JCW Heavyweight Championship became more than just an underground treasure. It was becoming a passport, a belt that could travel anywhere and still demand respect. If the early years were about proving the JCW Heavyweight Championship could survive anywhere, the next chapter was about proving it could thrive in the wildest environment imaginable, the gathering of the Juggalos. A multi-day festival where music, wrestling, and absolute chaos collided. This wasn't Madison Square Garden. This was a makeshift battlefield. A ring set up in the middle of an open field or under a massive tent, surrounded by thousands of Juggalos who'd been up for days, fueled by music, adrenaline, and Fago. Defending the JCW Heavyweight Championship at the gathering meant more than winning a match. It meant stepping into an arena where the crowd wasn't just watching. They were part of the fight. Trash and cups would fly, chants would erupt, and if you didn't deliver, you'd hear about it immediately. Somewhere between 2007 and 2010, during the reign of Corporal Robinson, the belt itself changed. The iconic red strap was replaced with sleek black leather. The look was new, but the danger remained the same. Robinson's reign would last an incredible 1,164 days, the longest in JCW history. That wasn't just dominance, that was survival. Defending the championship year after year at the gathering in death matches, hardcore wars, and brawls that spilled into the crowd, Robinson cemented himself as one of the belt's greatest ambassadors. To the fans in attendance, those late night or early morning main events weren't just wrestling matches. They were the heart of the festival. The JCW World Heavyweight Championship became the perfect closer, the exclamation point to a night of music and madness. Over time, certain names would become inseparable from the JCW World Heavyweight Championship.
Of the long, lavish history of JCW Heavyweight Champions, who is my personal favorite? Well, there are so many. From the great Vampiro, to the legendary Terry Funk, to Man Pondo, and there's no good Matt Tremont. But you know who my favorite is? The individual that held that prestigious title when yours truly, and the unstoppable, incurable infection, Jackson Abel, the Outbreak. When we first entered JCW, the man with the championship was the ultra-talented Willie Mack, who is hands down my personal favorite JCW Heavyweight Champion.
My all-time favorite heavyweight champion is Congo Kong. Congo Kong is a beast in the ring, crushing opponents, commanding respect with his fierce energy. Congo's reign is legendary.
Tuff Tony had 5 reigns, the most in history. Tony wasn't just a champion, he was a lifer, a man who embodied the grit and loyalty of JCW. Whether it was a death match in front of 300 fans or a gathering main event, Tony fought with the same intensity. He knew the weight of that belt, and he carried it like a badge of honor. Man Pondo is a deathmatch icon with scars that could tell a story better than words ever could. Pondo brought his hardcore credibility not just to the championship, but to JCW itself. When he held the championship, you knew blood was going to be spilled, and you knew the crowd was going to get their money's worth. And then there's Willie Mack, the man Violent J himself calls the most representative champion in JCW history.
As far as who represents the JCW World title the hardest, I would have to say it's been Willie Mack. He wears that title everywhere he goes around the world. Anywhere the Chocolate Juggalo Willie Mack is booked, he's going to come out with that JCW World title, including Japan, all 50 states. One time I even was at TripleMania, in Tijuana for AAA, and I didn't even know Willie Mack was going to be there, and he came out wearing the world fucking title, and it was even acknowledged on their TV. Their commentator of 30 years, Hugo Savinovich, acknowledged Willie Mack as the JCW Juggalo Championship Wrestling World Champion, and that meant a lot to me. So I would say, as far as the best representative of the JCW World title, it's been Willie Mack by far.
Willie Mack's reign was more than just title defenses. It was a walking promotion for JCW. Every time he stepped into a different promotion's ring, the JCW Heavyweight Championship came with him. And in doing so, he introduced the championship and the culture to fans all over the world. Legends like Vampiro and Sabu brought international eyes to the championship while still keeping it rooted in the hardcore spirit that birthed it. Each of these champions didn't just hold the championship, they added to it, layering their own legacies on top of the ones who came before them. Champions are remembered, but matches are immortal. The JCW Championship has been defended in wars that still get talked about to this day.
Now, as for the question of what has been my favorite JCW World title match so far, that's just too hard to say, man. Out of 26 years, there's been so many classic, fucking insanely good matches over that belt. But I would say what comes to mind is a match we had recently between two of our top baby faces, the Chocolate Juggalo Willie Mack, who had the world title, and Tuff Tony, who had just lost the American title, which made him #1 contender toward the world title. And I'll tell you what, both of them guys are great friends on JCW Lunacy, and they started off the match respectful to each other. But man, things got heated maybe 10 minutes into it, and they started fucking throwing down, and it got insane. And it ended up a no contest, a double count out, because they were fighting all over the fucking building. And finally, all the fucking Juggalo wrestlers came out, all the baby faces came out and broke them up and tried to talk sense into them. And it was then that Willie Mack and Tuff Tony realized what they were doing. They're best friends and they're out here slugging it. So they hugged each other and they left the ring together as Juggalo family. That was one of the coolest, most emotional matches I remember in a long time. And the very next week on Lunacy, they tag teamed together again, showing everybody that there's no beef at all. I thought that was a very special match, very well put together. And it was a treat that week on Lunacy because nobody knew what was about to happen. And it did, and that's a fucking match that could, in the world of JCW, that's a fucking huge match that could have been a main event at Bloody Mania.
Bonjour, Juggalos et Juggalettes. Je m'appelle Claude. Claude was asked recently, what would his dream match in a JCW World Championship be? Oh, that certainly had Claude thinking night after night for the answer to that one. What would truly be Claude's dream vision? That perfect combination of beauty and art and horrific, blood-curdling violence. So many icons to choose from. So many styles, so many diamonds in the rough that Claude sees. Sadly, nothing seems very clear to Claude right now. I cannot tell you what the dreams hold for me. All I know is that when it is ready, when the dreams do arrive, that is when the art escapes my hands. And like anything, I know art when I see it. And tell you, when I see that JCW dream match, I will let you know. Until then, get the hell out of my pool!
Tommy Grayson from the Backseat Boys recalls the gathering of the Juggalos 2024, Matt Cross versus Willie Mack.
I think the most important JCW heavyweight title match in recent memory has got to be the world title match between Willie Mack and M-Dog 20, Matt Cross. It was the main event of Bloody Mania 17, the epitome of two Juggalos going to war for our richest prize at the grandest stage of the Dark Carnival.
Not every champion's reign was long. Shaggy 2 Dope's title run lasted less than a day, making it the shortest in history. But in JCW, even that's part of the story. Sometimes the belt changes hands in wild, unpredictable ways that only add to its mystique. To truly understand the JCW World Heavyweight Championship, you have to understand why someone is given the belt in the first place. This isn't like other promotions, where the title is just a storyline prop. In JCW, the champion is the flag bearer, the representative of an entire culture, and the choice of who holds that strap is deliberate and calculated. Violent J explains it himself.
The JCW World Heavyweight Championship has meant different things to me over the past 26 years. Sometimes it's meant more to me than it has other times. It really depends on how active JCW was at that time period. You know, there have been times where we really mashed the gas and we're doing tons of shows and doing like an internet weekly show or something like that. And we really were revving things up at JCW. And there were other times when our music just had us too busy and we weren't able to focus on JCW. So it got less attention. It's had various different waves of activity over the years. But as far as who we put the world title on, that depends on a number of things and has depended on a number of things over the years. Sometimes we might put it on a big name in professional wrestling, like somebody we consider a celebrity. We felt it would look good if our world champion was a big name, and we may have put it on a big name. Other times, we may have given a title, not just the world title, but all the titles. We may have given a title to somebody who works hard on the other side of the curtain. Somebody may work hard in the office at JCW, and they may have earned the world title or any title that way, and they may get the belt that way. You know, it's mattered on different things. Other times it matters on who's going to represent it and wear it on their other bookings the most, you know. It could mean anything. And other times we put it on guys to help make them a star, you know, because obviously whoever has the world title is going to be a big fucking deal automatically. So if we were trying to push a guy through the roof, we may put the belt on him so that he automatically becomes significant. Different champions have held the belt for different reasons over the years, but it's never meant more than it does today in the era of JCW Lunacy.
But it's not always about business. Sometimes the decision is personal. Sometimes the belt goes to the wrestler who needs it the most on an emotional level. Because in JCW, if a champion truly cares about holding that belt, they'll fight harder, represent better, and elevate the title's meaning. This isn't just a championship. It's the heartbeat of an entire promotion and culture. As we step back into the modern era, the JCW World Heavyweight Championship continues to evolve without losing its identity. And today, during the height of the JCW vs GCW wars, Matt Tremont captured the belt for the first time. For those who know his story, it's a fitting chapter. Tremont is a warrior forged in hardcore wrestling, a man who has bled, sweated, and sacrificed for every championship he's ever won. This is what Violent J calls the Lunacy era, a time when JCW is more active, more visible, more creatively charged than it's ever been in years. Lunacy is the platform where the belt's prestige is showcased every week to an audience that's hungry for chaos and authenticity. And here's the thing, in an industry overflowing with championships, the JCW Heavyweight Championship still stands apart. Because while other belts may represent companies, networks, or even corporate brands, this one represents an entire culture, an entire way of life. To hold it means you're more than just the best wrestler in JCW. You're the voice of the Juggalos. You're the one they're counting on to fight for them. From Evil Dead's victory on a night in 1999, to Matt Tremont's reign in the Lunacy era of 2025, this belt has never just been leather and gold. It has been the centerpiece of wars that shook the earth beneath the ring. It has been the gold that made good men bleed, that made legends risk everything they had left in the tank, and that turned unknowns into icons overnight. In Juggalo Championship Wrestling, the World Heavyweight Championship is more than a wrestling title. It's a badge of honor. To hold it is to prove that you can thrive in the gathering chaos under an August sky heavy with smoke and fireworks, with thousands of Juggalos screaming your name, or screaming for your blood. Every champion who's worn it has carried more than a title. They've carried a culture. Because when you hold this belt, you are the face of the Juggalos, and that means something. It means stepping into rings that might not even have guardrails. It means fighting in front of fans who will love you if you're real and turn on you if you're fake. It means proving yourself, night after night, to the most loyal, passionate, and unapologetic fan base in the world. This is a belt that's been defended in the mud, in the rain, under tents, in gyms, in front of sold-out festival crowds, and even across oceans. It has stood the test of time through death matches, technical clinics, and wild brawls that spilled into the crowd. It's been to Mexico, to Japan, and it's been home under the gathering moon. The JCW World Heavyweight Championship has outlasted eras, trends, and even entire companies. Because it doesn't belong to a boardroom, it doesn't belong to a network, it belongs to the Juggalos. It belongs to the fighters willing to give their all for a culture that refuses to die. From Terry Funk to Willie Mack, from Tuff Tony to Kerry Morton, this is the richest prize in independent wrestling. And for those who have had the honor to hold it, it's more than just being a champion. It's carrying the weight of a family, a movement, a world that lives by its own rules. In JCW, you don't just win this belt, you survive it, you earn it, you live it. And if you're lucky enough to hold it under the lights with the Juggalos chanting your name, you'll know exactly why the JCW World Heavyweight Championship is the most important championship in wrestling.
This is my passion. This is my love. And I thank each and every one of you, sincerely from the heart, for being here.